All right. So today we're going to solve quadratic equations by using the quadratic formula. And yes, we need to memorize this, and it comes from the standard form of a quadratic equation, which is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. A, b, and c are just coefficients in front of the x's and the x squares. So you need to memorize that formula. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. And we can sing it. Here we go. X equals negative b plus or minus radical b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. And now we're all YouTube famous. Okay. So we're going to use that to help us solve some problems today. This first one is x squared plus 3x equals 2. So we're going to solve this quadratic equation by using the quadratic formula. Now, before we do it, we need to make sure we're in standard form. Does this one look like this one? No, what's wrong with it?
We don't.
It's not equal to 0, is it?
So divide by 2.
Not divide.
Multiply by 2.
No, not multiply.
Radical 2.
We move the 2 to the other side. How do we move the 2 to the other side?
Subtract.
Subtract it. So we have x squared plus 3x minus 2 equals 0. And today we're solving by the quadratic formula, so we're going to use the formula negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. So we're going to fill them in. Now when we fill it in, this is my a term, which is a 1. My b term is 3. My c term is negative 2. So those are the numbers I'm going to plug into the spots. So before I even look at them, I'm going to write x equals negative, parentheses. What is my a term?
I got a question for you.
Yes?
They're both x's, so why would they not be a's?
Because a is with the x squared, b is one with the 1.
So if x squared, if there was no squared on the x, it would be a.
No, if there was no x squared, that would be a linear function, not a quadratic.
If it was just x plus 3x, would they both be a?
It wouldn't be a quadratic function at all because it wouldn't be a b squared.
Okay.
You got to have an x squared to be a quadratic.
So the second, third number would always go with b.
The one with the x squared is a, the one with the x is b, the one that doesn't have an x is c.
That's right.
Yes, it has to be in standard form.
I need 3.
All right, what is my b? 3. Plus and minus the square root of what is b again? 3 squared minus 4 times what's a?
1 squared.
Well, not a square there. It's just AC. And what is c?
2.
Negative 2. And all of that gets divided by 2 times what is a? 1. So this was a b, this was a b, this was a, this was a c, this was a a. Okay? So any questions about how I plugged anything in anywhere? All right. Let's do it. So then we simplify. Negative 3 is negative 3. Plus and minus the square root of what's 3 squared? 9. And then we multiply all 3 of these. Negative.
4 times 1 is 4.
Negative 4.
Negative 4.
Times negative 2 is what?
Negative 8. Positive 8.
Positive 8. Divided by what's 2 times 1?
2.
2. Then you do inside the radical. What's 9 plus 8?
17.
Plus and minus the square root of 17 over 2. Now question.
It does not.
See if we can simplify this radical. Is there anything that goes into 17 that's a square besides 1? No. 17's prime, isn't it? So you can leave your answer like this. Or if you have a multiple choice test, they might say negative 3 plus radical 17 over 2 and negative 3 minus radical 17 over 2. So any one of these two answers is correct, just depending on what they have your answers looking at. And that 2's look funky, so that's how you do it. Now, if the radicals would simplify, you need to simplify. So any questions on this one? And honestly, this really doesn't get very much harder today. It's the same thing over and over. The only thing we're going to do discriminants later, which is easier. But the only thing that might get complicated is when we have imaginaries here in a little bit. All right, so here's our quadratic equation. What's our first thing we have to do to it?
Subtract 7.
Yeah, we want it equal to 0, so it's in standard form. So this is x squared minus 5x minus 7 equals 0. What's my a?
X squared.
No, a is a number. 1. What's my b?
5x.
Negative 5. What's my c? Negative 7. So we're going to use x equals negative b plus and minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. You really don't have to recopy it, but I did because I don't have it on my screen anymore. And you plug them in. X equals negative, parentheses. What goes in for b?
5x.
You don't put an x. You just put the number. Negative 5. And that's why I put a parentheses, because sometimes you have double negatives like this. We will in a little bit. We're inserting right now. We're just inserting our a's, b's, and c's. So again, my b is negative 5. So negative 5 squared minus 4. A 4 always goes there, y'all. What's our a term?
1.
What's our c term?
Negative 6.
And all of that gets divided by 2 times a. And what's our a?
1.
1. So negative 5 is a positive 5, just like he said. Plus and minus. What's negative 5 squared? What's negative 5 squared? Not negative. A negative squared is always positive. Do not put that in your calculator. Calculators lie about that. So you got to know your brain. A negative times a negative is positive. And then that's negative 4 times negative 7, which is a positive 28. You can skip over the ones. And that's divided by 2 times 1 is 2. Now what do we need to simplify, y'all? What simplifies next? Yeah, under the radical, 25 plus 28 equals what? 53. Divided by 2. Can we simplify radical 53?
Yep. Nope.
30 squares that go into 53? I think 53 is actually prime. So there's nothing that goes into 53 at all, except for 1 and 53. You can leave your answer like that. If it's multiple choice, they might say 5 plus radical 53 over 2 and 5 minus radical 53 over 2. But I'm perfectly okay if y'all just save that and leave it like that. Any questions about that one? Not right now. In a class. Here's another one. This one's got a different setup. I meant to make that black. I like my original problem to be black. Now, is this one in standard form? The 18 needs an X with it, so if y'all could squish an X there, that would be great. 18 needs an X. Minus 9. So first we got to make it look like standard form, right? Which is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So first we got to move everything to where the x squared is. So when you put something in standard form, you bring everything to the x squared. You don't move the x squared, you bring everything to the x squared. So we need to get our x's together, so I can subtract 12x, and it is like terms with that 18x. So I can put those together when I cross over. And also I'm going to add 9, and that's going to be my c term, so that goes on the end. I know that's jumbled up, but it should be 25x squared. Combine your x's, you get negative 30x, and then plus 9 equals 0. So y'all tell me, what's my a?
25,
What's my B?
30, negative 30.
And what's my C?
9.
Good. So x equals negative b. So negative parentheses. What's my b?
Negative 50.
Negative 30. Plus and minus the square root of negative 30 squared. Minus 4 times what's a?
25.
And what's c?
9.
9. All of that gets divided by 2 times a, and a is 25.
4 times 25 is 100.
Hang on. What's negative 30?
30? Positive 30.
Yep. Plus and minus the square root of what's negative 30 squared?
Negative
Positive 900. Whatever number comes out here, you're always going to get a positive because any number squared is going to be positive, right?
Okay.
All right.
4 times 25 is 100, 900.
But it's going to be a positive or a negative 900.
Negative 900.
Yeah, because it's one negative, right?
Divided by 50.
50. And then inside the radical, what's 900 divided by 900, or minus 900, sorry?
0.
0. So 30 plus and minus the square root of 0 over 50. Now, what is the square root of 0? 0. So, isn't 30 plus 0 the same thing as 30 minus 0, which is just 30? So this is
divided by 50 is 1 over 5.
not 1 over 5. 3 over 5.
5.
Yeah, divide them both by 10. And there we go. How many answers did we get here? How many answers did we get there? 1. 3/5 is one number. But when we get this plus and minus stuff going on, how many solutions do we get?
About 2.
2. 2. So those we got 2 solutions. This one we only got 1 solution. Okay? We could possibly get 2 real solutions like we've been getting, or 1 real solution, or we could have no real solutions at all, and that would be happen when we have imaginary solutions. All right? So, let's see a couple more. Negative x squared plus 4x equals 5.
Subtract 5.
Yeah, we got to get it equal to 0 to do the quadratic formula.
X squared.
Minus 5.
A is negative 1.
Mm-hmm.
B is positive 4. C is negative 5.
Very good.
X equals
X equals negative, what's b?
4.
Plus and minus the square root of what's b?
4.
Squared minus 4 times what's a?
Negative 1.
What's c?
Negative 5.
And all gets divided by 2 times what's a?
Negative 1.
Okay. So negative 4 is negative 4. Plus and minus the square root.
4 squared 16. Minus negative 4 times negative 1 is negative 4 times negative 5 will be negative 100, 20.
20. Do I put a minus 20 here or a plus 20?
Plus 20.
Plus
How many negatives do I have to multiply together here?
3.
3 negatives makes a negative, right? An odd number of negatives multiplied is a negative. An even number of negatives multiplied is a positive. So this is minus 20.
Divided by
Negative 2. What is 16 minus 20?
4.
Try again.
Negative 4.
Negative 4
Right.
divided by negative 2. Can we simplify the square root of negative 4?
Yeah.
What is the square root of 4 anyway?
2.
2. But that negative in there means we have to pull out an I. Right? I don't care about negative positive.
I thought you could never write a radical on negative 3.
You can't, but we know imaginaries now. So we say the square root of negative 4 plus or minus 2i. Because the square root of 4 is 2, so that got rid of the square root. But since we took the square root of a negative, we got to keep the I.
So you wouldn't put that 2 in radical.
No, because the square root of 4 is 2. I got rid of your square root because you took the square root of a perfect square. If it comes out to be a whole number after you take the square root of it, then you don't have a radical anymore. And all that's divided by negative 2. And remember, these are complex numbers when they have imaginaries, and we have to write them in standard form for complex, which is a plus bi is standard for complex. So that means we can't just leave it in this big fraction. So we have to say x equals -4 over -2 plus or minus 2i over -2.
That'd be,
So -4 divided by -2 is +2. Plus and minus, that's supposed to be a plus, not a t. -1i. And since it's plus and minus, you can just say it 2 plus and minus I. Because the negatives here, they'll just swap the order of them. Minus a negative is a plus. And plus a negative is a minus. Yeah. So y'all look at that. Do y'all have any questions on that? This part you did not do in Algebra 1. So this part is brand new. Okay. So let's do one more like this because this is the most complicated kind we got. So when you're working these today, you don't have just a whole ton for homework, but when you're working them, you don't know when they're going to have eyes and when they're not, when you're going to have one solution, when you're going to have two solutions. Okay, you just got to pretty much work it and find out. Be very careful with your arithmetic because if you mess up on a negative sign, you're going to miss everything. So work it slowly, show your work, plug them in, and basically just take your time and try to get as correct as possible. Let's do one more like that so we can make sure we know how to do it. This one's already in standard form. Okay. So, what's my A? 1. What's my B? What's my C? 10. So x equals -b plus or minus radical of b squared minus 4c divided by 2a. So x equals negative, what's b? So -6 plus or minus the square root -6 squared minus 4 times what's a? What is a?
1.
Thank you. What is c?
10.
And all of that gets divided by 2 times what is a?
1.
So -6 is +6. Plus or minus. What's -6 squared? 36. What's -4 times 1 times 10?
40.
-40. All divided by 2 times 1 equals 2. I don't know why I made my radicals so big. What's 36 minus 40?
12.
Not 4. You got to be careful with these negatives, y'all, because that's going to cause you to miss it totally. So what do we do when we take the square root of negative? What do we have to use when we take the square root of a negative?
Sometimes it's an I.
Always the I. So the square root of -4 is I radical 4, and the square root of 4 is 2, right? And I times 2 is 2I. Divided by 2. In standard form, remember, we have to write it a plus bi. So how do we write it a plus bi instead of this big old fraction?
2 is 3 plus or minus.
2 divided by 2.
Mm-hmm. So simplify that. We got 3 plus and minus what?
1.
I.
Or just I, right? So that's 3 plus I and 3 minus I, if that was multiple choice.
The formula is x equals
Negative b
-b plus or minus radical b squared minus
4ac
4ac
divided by,
divided by 2a.
yes, memorize, memorize, memorize. All right, I do want y'all to try one on your own, but we're going to start it together. And this turns out to be kind of boring.
It's very hot.
Not to me. Now, guys, did I tell you guys how to get it in standard form?
Subtract.
What are we subtracting?
Negative.
X squared.
Don't ever
6 of them. Bring the 6.
Never move the x squared. Bring everything to the x squared. So we want to subtract the 6x, and what else do we have to do?
Add the 4.
Add the 4. So this one's going to be
X squared minus 6x plus 4
equals.
0.
So what's your A?
1.
What's your B?
6.
C.
4.
All right, y'all try the rest of it. Go as far as you can.
X squared minus 6.
I'll write the formula on there to help you out. Oops. Try it with your pencil. Just plug it in and do arithmetic. Is all it is.
Remember how if we had a number in front of the X that wasn't 1, we had to do all that umbo jumbo? That long, it was long. But we won't have to.
Yes, when we had to do factoring by grouping and stuff. But so, yeah, if you're solving by factoring, you do have to do it that way. But if you're solving by quadratic formula, you don't have to do that. It's just your A term. So it's just another way of solving it. So all we've done in this chapter is different ways to solve quadratics. So on your test on Wednesday, you got to know how to do all those different ways. Solve by factoring, solve by square roots, solve by complete the square, and now solve by the quadratic formula. So 4 different ways we've learned to do it. Yes, sir.
I'm stuck right here.
I'm stuck on.
Before we get to
Okay, so 36 minus 16. Simplify radical 20. Go up to the side of your paper. Simplify radical. It's not a decimal. No, not a decimal. Use those. I still left them squares on the board. So you find the largest square that goes into it.
4.
Is one. Yes, 4 times something.
Wow.
There's no I. There wasn't no. There's a positive 20. There's no I.
Really? 4, ain't it?
4 times what equals 20?
4 times 5.
And what's the square root of 4?
2.
2 radical 5.
Multiplying radicals, that's good.
It's algebra 1 skills we should know, though.
I'm stuck. I don't know that.
Persevere. Radical 20 equals radical 4 times 5. Square root of 4 is 2. Bring it outside. That's 2 radical 5. But you write plus and minus 2 radical 5. I don't have any answers.
Wait.
Yes, but I'm like, the state is called. Go fix that. There's no 20 there. Divided by something.
So,
Now, if we put one negative in the wrong place, it's going to cause us to miss it. So that's why you have to be very, very careful when you're plugging stuff in and when you're multiplying and adding and subtracting and stuff. Give me some working room over here. All right, y'all help me plug in. X equals negative, what's B?
Negative 6.
Plus and minus square root of
Negative 6.
squared minus 4 times, what's A? What's C?
4.
And all of that's divided by,
2 divided by, times 1.
so negative 6 equals
36.
plus or minus 36. What do we get here?
16.
Minus 16 divided by 2 times 1 is,
2.
what's 36 minus 16?
20.
Can we simplify radical 20?
Yes.
What square goes into 20? I did it on the board. So come over to the side somewhere. Radical 20 equals radical 4 times 5, and the square root of 4 is,
2.
so that is 2 radical 5. So we say x equals 6 plus and minus 2 radical 5 over 2. Now, if you have it here, you're on the right track, but this is not simplified all the way. Because if you look, those numbers are both divisible by 2, aren't they? Is 6 divided by 2? Yeah. Is 2 divisible by 2? So technically what you can do is say 6 over 2 plus and minus 2 radical 5 over 2. And you can still leave it plus and minus. What is 6 divided by 2?
3.
Plus and minus. These 2's can cancel out and leave you radical 5. Do I have an imaginary answer? No, I have 2 real answers. 3 plus radical 5 and 3 minus radical 5. Raise your hand if you got at least to this step. Good, and y'all just didn't think to simplify, right? But if both of them, if they're divisible, go ahead and split them up, just like what we do with the eyes. Okay? Multiple choice test, it might leave it like this. So just after you get to here, look at your answer choices if it's multiple choice. And if they don't have that, then try doing splitting it up and see if they have your answers then. Okay? That doesn't mean yours is wrong. That just means you can simplify one more step. Does that make sense? All right. So the next thing we need to talk about is something called the discriminant. Discriminant. And a discriminant is a number, and that number tells you how many solutions you will have. So there's 3 possible outcomes we can have. We can have 2 real solutions. That's when we don't have any imaginaries. 2 solutions, right? Plus and minus. We could have 1 real solution, which means only 1 answer. Or we could have 2 imaginary solutions. Does that make sense? We could have 2 real solutions, 1 real solution, or 2 imaginary solutions. So, the formula for the discriminant is this. B squared minus 4AC. Does that look familiar? Does that sound familiar? So where do you think that comes from?
It's a formula.
It is, but where does that come from?
The thing we just did.
Yeah, it's a piece of the quadratic formula, and it's actually the part that is under the radical without the radical. Yeah, it's the part that's under the radical without the radical. Now, you don't take a square root of it, okay? It's just B squared minus 4AC. So if I gave you a quiz, and it said number 1, write the quadratic formula, what are you going to write?
X equals negative 3 plus or minus radical B
squared minus
4A 4 times C.
AC.
Divided by 2A.
And if number 2 says write the formula for a discriminant, what are you going to write?
B squared minus 4AC.
And we're all going to make 100, right?
No.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you one of these quizzes like Wednesday right before you take your test.
Yeah.
Because we're going to have a little easy quiz grade right there, and everybody's going to make 100, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, know those. So, here's what we're going to do. Here's what happens. If we get our discriminant, and we get an answer that is greater than 0, which means it's a positive number. If we get a positive number for our discriminant, that means we have 2 real solutions. That just means 2 numbers that are solutions. That means we're going to have 2 real solutions. Doesn't mean we have to solve them. That's just telling me how many solutions we can expect. If we get b squared minus 4ac equals 0, if we work it out and we get 0 for our discriminant, then that means there is 1 real solution. And then if we get b squared minus 4ac is less than 0, what kind of numbers are less than 0? What kind of numbers are less than 0? Negative numbers. If we get a negative number for our discriminant, that means we're going to have no real solutions, which means we will have 2 imaginary solutions. So if you want to check your work, if you work in the quadratic formula and know how many solutions you're supposed to get, say you only get 1 solution and you don't know if that's right, do the discriminant real quick and it'll tell you if your discriminant equals 0, you know you're only supposed to have 1 answer. Or if you get imaginaries and you're not sure if you can get imaginaries or not, then do the discriminant. If you have a negative number for your discriminant, then you know you're supposed to have 2 imaginary answers. Okay? So that's what we're going to use the discriminant for, to tell how many solutions we will have. What was my last example? E. Okay. So here's example F. All we're doing is finding the discriminant. X squared minus 8x plus 17 equals 0. Again, we need to be in standard form. And is this one in standard form? Yep. What's our A?
1.
1. What's B?
8. Negative 8.
What's C?
17.
17. So we're going to plug those into b squared minus 4ac. What goes in for b?
Negative 8.
So negative 8 squared minus 4 times what's a?
1.
What's c?
17.
What's negative 8 squared?
Negative 64.
Is it negative 64?
Well, just 64 because remember.
And I told you that calculator lies.
It's
It lied to you, didn't it? What's negative 4 times positive 17? You can skip over the ones. Negative 68. And what is 64 minus 68? Negative 4. So what kind? So negative 4 is my discriminant. So what kind of solutions am I going to have?
We have 2 imaginary.
2 imaginary. Good. So on these where you're doing the discriminant, I want you to tell me what the discriminant is. That's why I circled negative 4, because that number is the discriminant. And whatever that number is tells me how many solutions we'll have and what kind of solutions they will be. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am. Look
All right. And again, you just have to memorize which is which. Next one, x squared minus 8x plus 16 equals 0. Is this one in standard form?
Yes, ma'am.
It is. So what's my A?
1.
B?
Negative 8.
C?
16.
So we're going to plug that into b squared minus 4ac. What goes in for b?
Negative 8.
Squared minus 4 times what's a?
1.
C?
16.
All right, what's negative 8 squared? What's negative 8? The same thing as it was up there.
Yeah. The calculator takes too much out of turn.
I know, it takes up your brain too. What's negative 4 times 16?
64.
Negative 64. And what is 64 minus 64 equal?
0, no cap.
0 is my discriminant. So what kinds of solutions am I going to have here?
No solution.
Try again.
One solution.
One, what kind of solution?
Real.
One real solution.
So how do you know about the alligator mouth? What are those things for?
Less than, equal to, greater than on top.
Yeah, but we had no alligator now.
Yes, we did. Chapter 2.
Yeah, but like on F and G we did. Yeah.
It's not part of the problem. It's part of the, you take your answer and compare it, where does it fit in?
Okay.
If this number is greater than 0, which means it's a positive number, then you'll have 2. If your number is equal to 0, you'll have one real solution. If you have a negative number, then you have 2 imaginaries.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah. And we don't call them alligator mouths in Algebra 2. We quit calling them that about 6th grade. I want y'all to do one. I'm going to give y'all a bonus one. Y'all find me the discriminant. Find me the discriminant.
3 is.
On your paper. No. You got plenty of room to find this little bitty discriminant.
What's up? It's my homework.
Okay.
Yeah.
Y'all find me the discriminant and then tell me how many solutions we're supposed to have and what kind they are.
Yes, ma'am. That kind of goes right. I got eight.
Whisper it to your neighbor if they're done. So I'm looking for a number for your discriminant and then how many solutions and what kind of solutions they are. So, what's the formula for finding the discriminant, y'all?
B squared minus 4A.
C, right? So what's your B in this problem?
12x.
Not X.
What's 12 squared, I mean?
Minus 4 times what's A?
3,
What's C?
12,
All right, what is 12 squared?
145.
What's negative 4 times 3 times 12?
145.
Positive or negative?
Negative.
It matters, don't it? Because if I add 144, I'll have a positive number. And if I subtract 144, I get what? 0. So what kind of solutions do I have? One real solution. Now, we didn't get one with a positive answer, but what do we say if we have a positive number for our discriminant? No.
2 imaginary.
No.
2 real solutions.
2 reals. All right, that is the end of section 3.8. Also the end section 4.8. That is also the end of chapter 4 for the solving equations part 1.